The rapture isn't in the Bible, and the verse that people point to try and prove it means the exact opposite. I'm Robin Whittaker, a biblical scholar and public theologian, and the rapture is this idea in evangelical Christianity that Christians at the end of time who are still alive on earth will be beamed up to meet Jesus in the air and ascend into heaven, therefore leaving this earth. The verse they point to is from 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verse 17, and it says, "After that, we who are still alive will be caught up together with them in the clouds and meet the Lord in the air, and so we will be with the Lord forever." Now, Paul here, this is Paul's earliest letter in the New Testament, is drawing on an image from the Roman Empire. And scholars widely agree that it's this idea that when an emperor or a really important figure comes to visit your town, the nobility and the leaders of the town would walk out of the city gates and go and meet them on their road as they're coming in and welcome them back into the city. It was an act of welcome and hospitality. And we see traces of this in the way that the Gospels talk about the triumphal entrance of Jesus into Jerusalem riding that donkey. The crowds have moved out of the city and then accompany and follow him back into Jerusalem. Which means if this is what Paul is drawing on here, this verse that people use to justify an idea of beaming up to heaven actually means the precise opposite. Using a metaphor of welcome and hospitality to say that Christians will be so keen to greet Jesus, they will meet him in the air and usher him back to earth. And this is in keeping with other biblical ways of talking about the end of time, where the movement of God is towards the earth and towards God's people. It's the same movement of God we see in the incarnation, in this idea of God becoming flesh in Jesus Christ. It is not escape from this earth, it's a radical affirmation of God's place on this earth with God's people and all of creation. Rapture theology means a lot of evangelical Christians have been reluctant to do things about climate change, for example. How did we get here? The idea of the rapture was invented in the 19th century. It's a very new niche piece of Christian theology, and it's based on the visions that a young woman in Glasgow had. It got picked up by a Christian leader called John Nelson Darby, who was part of the Plymouth Brethren and the founder of the Exclusive Brethren. It got popularised when Scofield referred to it in his study Bible, the Scofield Reference Bible, which was one of the biggest selling Bibles of the 20th century. And of course, it got made mainstream in the fictional stories of Left Behind. But it's not biblical, it's not a deep Christian tradition, and it's actually highly problematic.